Okay, so we're still talking about vaccines, and we're going to be talking about vaccines for months and months and months, and it's just going to last until we finally get them. The prime minister providing an update late last week and saying, I'm not going to go through all the details, but basically, he is saying that he remains confident that we're going to get the vaccines we need by September. And possibly, if we approve some of these other candidates, the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and the Novavax vaccine, we could actually have more than enough vaccine on hand. The deliveries are expected to ramp up in March and continue throughout the spring and the summer until everyone gets them. Where I live in Ontario, an interesting development, they are apparently relatively close, probably sometime the next few weeks, they were saying, to begin vaccinating the over 80s. I still have a grandparent. I still have one surviving grandparent, my grandmother. She's in her 90s, and she has a lung condition. So she would just have a complete target on her back if COVID got her. So getting her vaccinated will obviously be a huge relief. She's basically been in solitary confinement for the last year, and her liberation may be at hand. And then after that, we get into the 70s. We get my in-laws done. We get into the 60s. We get my parents done. My life personally starts to look a lot better at that point. Some of the concern about this goes away. The concern, though, has now got to shift. I've been critical of the federal government. If you've been watching my videos here, you know that. For the purpose of this, though, I'm going to make an assumption, and I'm not betting the proverbial farm on that, but I'm making an assumption that they're going to actually stick to the schedule, that there's not going to be any major procurement challenges, that there's not going to be any more export controls, that there's not going to be any more tooling problems with Pfizer. Let's assume we actually get these vaccines. We need to ramp up our ability to get them out here. If we have provinces sitting on vaccines that they are not ready to get into arms, that's a problem. Just this morning, I saw that Ontario is talking about getting some sort of call center fired up where Ontarians will be able to call and book their vaccination appointment, blah, blah, blah. Is there any more terrifying phrase in the English language than like Canadian government call center? Like when I have a good Canadian government public service experience or Ontario government or City of Toronto, whatever, I'm astonished. Like I take to Twitter and laud them for being competent. We have problems in this country when it comes to the delivery of service. I mean, we've got a provincial government right now talking about establishing a call center. Meanwhile, the federal government can't get its payroll system working. I am choosing to be an optimist because really what's the alternative? And I hope and I expect that we get this figured out. That, like I said, if we choose to assume that the federal government gets the vaccines, I choose to assume that the provincial government will know what to do with them. During the first phase of the vaccine rollout, though, the provinces struggled. They weren't getting the vaccines out there. We were hearing every day stories of trained healthcare providers going, I can give injections. Why haven't I been tapped? The Ontario government says they're going to start getting that call center going. Why wasn't it being worked on 2 months ago? Staff the damn thing, train the people, get the IT figured out, and pay them to sit there and play video games. I don't care. I would rather have a call center set up, staffed, ready to go, having had real world, as close as possible, exercises to be ready to go, and pay them for a few extra weeks than to get the vaccines and not have the call center infrastructure ready to go. I hope we're ready. I choose to believe we're ready. But if we're not, I'm not going to be shocked. And I really don't think you will be either.